Hey everyone, welcome back to most of my audience. Hope you're having a great start to your holidays. I haven't forgotten about the YouTube channel. I have promised a few people that I would do some more videos. So here we are. I've had this idea for a while. I just have never got around to it. I actually got out this collector's tin, which I own, which hopefully you can hear. I actually got this out months and months ago, and it's been sitting on my desk. So now I can actually use it and put it away. So I'm going to talk to you today about some of the games that I like to play, and I'll showcase you them in a couple of videos. Because one of the questions I get asked the most is, what type of games do you play? Because when people ask me about it, I often don't play the games that people that I see the most do. They play shooters, they play FIFA, those type of games, and they're not really my type of games. I'm more into strategy games where you think, where you build, where you plan, those type of games. And the very first one that kind of got me into those type of games was Civilization 4, which is this game, as I said, which I own. I have this collector's tin, and I'll just put it up to show you. I'll talk about what type of game it is in a second, but it was really the first game where I started to read strategy guides, and I would watch people play, and I would read people's playthroughs and talk about the way that they strategized, and I would even, read turn-based play of this game, because you could play multiplayer with this, where you would pass the save to other people. So I really spent a lot of time reading about this game, playing it myself, and trying to get better, not just through playing, but by reading and watching other people. So as you can see, this is a collector's tin, which I have. It came out in 2005, so this is a hard copy, obviously, but I do also own a digital copy, which we're going to look at now. So just a little bit about the game, Civilization 4. It is, as part of a series at the moment, they're up to Civilization 6. So I own 4, 5, and 6. As I said, this one was out in 2005, so the other ones were kind of a little bit before my time. But this was really something that I'd just seen people play, and I was like, well, that kind of seems like my type of game. And it really was. I went out and I bought it, and I've played hundreds of hours of the game. Can't see all of them in Steam because, as I said, I've got a copy here which I played on CD for a very long time, and then bought this digital copy as well when I needed to, because computers don't necessarily have CD players anymore. So the aim of Civilization is to play as one of the nations that they have, and to win the game. And there's lots of different ways to win, which I'll show you just now. So normally you can just go in here to start a game, and they'll give you different options, like what type of map you want, the size. Sure, so there's heaps of options, and then you pick your civilization here, and you've got all these different leaders. And the cool thing about Civilization 4 is that each leader has 2 different traits. So for America has unique units and unique buildings, so you can see that they have the Navy SEAL, which replaces the Marine. They have a unique building, which is a mall, which replaces the supermarket. So each country, and you can see there's a very long list of countries, has a unique unit and a unique building. And then each leader has their own 2 traits. And there's only, and I should have looked this up beforehand, but there's only a certain number of traits in the game, 8 or something, I'm going to guess. But they all have a different 2. So philosophical, charismatic for Lincoln, industrious, organized for Roosevelt. Washington has expansive, charismatic. And we'll talk about what some of them do as we get into the game. But you can just see, so there's so many different options you can choose. Some nations, like America, have 3 different leaders. Some ones, like Arabia, just have the one, which is Saladin. So you can see lots of choice, and you can also randomize it if you'd like. Now when I play, I don't normally go that way. I go into custom game, just because there's a few settings that I turn off. So you can see even more settings than there were in the other games. And if you go up here, you can actually pick your leader from the list, just like you did on the others. You just don't get the little pictures of the person. And you can also pick your country. And there is an option here to do unrestricted leaders, which makes you any leader and any country. So you don't have to play as the leader of America, for example. I could be America, but also play as Churchill if I wanted to, which is the English leader. You've also got different difficulty settings. So normally I play on Emperor or Immortal, and I will, if there are any people watching this who are Civ 4 experts, I'm definitely not an expert. I've played this game a lot, not a regular deity beater by any stretch of the imagination, which is quite hard. So I'm just going to pick random for this one just to go in, just so we can get into it. There's also settings here. I do normally play on Marathon, which is like double or quadruple the speed of normal. I don't know why, but that's what I got used to playing, and so I normally play the games on Marathon. For this, I'm going to put it on quick just so we can go through a couple of turns so I can show you. We talked about the way that you win the game, so you've got your 6 different victory conditions here. So time just means you run out of turns. Conquest means that you've conquered everyone. Domination means you have to reach a certain threshold of population and culture. Culture means certain influence that you have. Space race means that you've launched the rocket to space, and diplomatic means that you've won in the World Congress or whatever they call it in Civ 4, because I'm possibly getting that mixed up with Civ 5. So I'm just going to turn off unrestricted leaders for this. I'm not sure if it was on before. I think I might have accidentally clicked it, but just so we can pick someone. Now, one of the other cool things about Civilization 4, and which they try and do in a lot of their games, not always, is that the narration is done by someone who is very famous and who is unfortunately no longer with us, but Leonard Nimoy, who was Spock in Star Trek. So this was a very cool feature of it. So I'll just let him start speaking and then I'll jump into the game. We won't watch the whole video here.
In the beginning, the earth was without form and void.
So there you go. So he also narrates all of the text. So when we finish researching the tech, which I'll show you in a second, Leonard Nimoy says the lines for the tech. So I'm not going to read everything on the screen because I'm not going to show you every little thing about this game. But when you start as a country, the other 2 things you get are certain starting texts. Now this is different, and this is definitely one of the things about Civ 4 that makes it so good, is that you'd have different starting texts, whereas in Civ 5 and 6, everyone starts with the same tech. So you can see we are playing as Ethiopia. Our leader is Zara Yaqub, who is creative and organized. So creative gives you border pops for free, basically gives you +2 culture per turn, which I'll show you in a second. And organized reduces your costs for some of your policies. Well, they're not called policies in Civ 4, but I'll show you that too in a second. Again, this is not an in-depth look, but just to show you the type of game that I'm interested in. So the 2 texts that he starts with are hunting and mining, which is not too bad. And then we've got this Oromo warrior instead of a musketman, and a steel instead of a monument. So when you get into the game, here's what it looks like. So I always turn on the grid so you can see. And then you've got your units, and you basically move them around. It's a turn-based game, so nothing's going to happen until I end my turn. As you can see, I've still got movement on this guy, and I've still got movement on this guy, who is my settler. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to try to rush through this, but this is just to give you a bit of an indication about this type of game. So first of all, before you settle, you want to move your scout to try and get some more information about the land around you. So I'll just move him down there. And you'd also try and get the best starting spot as you can before you settle. So this button here will build the city. So this is your settler. Once you do this, you build the city. Again, I'm not going to try and do it optimally. I'm just going to settle for the sake of this video. So you can see I've settled my capital now. It's got 2 resources in range at the moment, and as we research more things, we might find out more. So I've got some resources here. You've got the cows, and I'll pick something to build, which will start with the worker. And my tech, again, I would probably put a bit of thought into this if I was playing properly, but I want to be able to improve the corn, so I'm going to research agriculture first. So you can see up here it says 8 turns. If I go into my city here, it says 10 turns. And you can also pick which tiles you want to work. And then they contribute to these 2 bars up here. So one is your growth bar, so you can see food. It's 0 out of 14. and this is my worker, my progress at 0 out of 40. Next turn this will say something different because I will have contributed this much. And in this game they called hammers, so you can see hammers, but that's your production. Your food, which is like a little piece of bread, so you can see all of these tiles have, this one has 3 food, my capital has 2 food, 1 hammer, 1 commerce. And we'll talk about commerce in a second, but commerce is what drives your research. So you can see a worker and a settler use production and food, whereas the other units, if I click on a warrior and change it to warrior, you can see I'm actually growing at the top here and building down here. But my worker uses both of those resources, so it doesn't grow while I'm building a worker. So I'm just going to click through a couple of turns, we'll just see a few things and I'll talk about some of this stuff and then I'll show you an end game and we'll probably just stop there, but just to give you an idea about what type of game this is. So you're also going to see down here, if I hover over here, it will tell me on my bottom left and I'm pointing, which makes no sense because you can't see me, but just know that I'm pointing. On the left hand bottom of my screen and the video, it will say that creative gives you +2 culture per city, gives you double production speed of a few of those buildings, then organized gives you half price civic upkeep and again faster production of those buildings. So the reason why culture is important, you can see I have these borders here, this green border. So Ethiopia is always tricky because the color is very similar to like the grass color. But this is my border here and it will pop in. So because I'm creative, I've got 4 culture per turn. The palace gives me automatic 2 culture per turn. So my 2 plus my 2 for being creative gives me 4 per turn. So this will pop, my culture will pop in 2 turns. So my borders will expand. So at the moment I can only work these tiles here, but in 2 turns I'll be able to work these ones as well. And that's called your big X, and your city can grow out further in terms of culture, but you cannot work any more than those tiles, which we'll see in just a sec. Right, so let's just click on the end turn. First turn's always the slowest because you've got to wait for the other civs to settle. So again, my job of my scout is just to go out and look. I'm trying to meet other civs, and I'm trying to scout the land around me for where to settle my next city. So you can see that's my second turn. It's now popped. So my culture has popped my borders out this far now. So if I go back into my city, you can see there's all these other options for me to work in terms of tiles. Right, I'm not going to change anything yet though. Just going to keep scouting. You can see my research here is going down because I'm making 9 science per turn, and that's my research. If I go into the research tab, we'll show you that agriculture is a 72, takes 72 beakers or 72 science to research, and I'm making 9 per turn, so it's going to be 8. So at the moment I've done 20 out of 72. I can actually change this too if I wanted to make some money, because everything will cost money, but at the moment I don't really have anything that costs money, so therefore I'm putting it all into science. So some of these tiles that have coins on them will make you money, which you can put into research, or you can adjust this slider, which you have to adjust later on in the game. But at the moment, as I said, because I've got nothing, there's nothing that's costing me anything. So I'm just hoping to find a civ, and then we might look at a couple other things, and then I'll show you an end game. And that'll probably do for the video. So you can see I'm just seeing a few more resources about where I would want to settle my next city. So I've got some rice here, some marble here, there's some wheat here. Hills are also interesting because they give you production, so you can mine them. Like a pasture here, as you can see in the bottom left, it gives me a little bit of food, but some hammers as well. This one will give me just food. So it depends what it is. Rice gives me just food. Marble is a production tile, so it'll give me that, but because it's, marble is very expensive, so they've also got 2 commerce that goes along with it. So it just depends what it is. I would also probably think about where I move my scout if I was playing this properly, but I'm really just trying to meet someone, and normally it doesn't take this long. So it's not making a great video. There you go, I've got another resource, there's some pigs. hopefully that wasn't too loud. But you can see some of the texts allow you to found a religion. So you can see this is mysticism here, and then these two texts you can see first to discover founds Buddhism, first to discover founds Hinduism, this one's first to discover founds Judaism. So there's religion in the game too, that's one of these tabs up here. So you can see there's all these religions to discover, and they give you certain bonuses if you founded them, and they also allow you to increase your happiness, which we'll talk about in just a sec too. So you can see also it's not just land, you know, it is also a sea-based or an ocean.
Hello, farmers. Pray that your summers be wet and your winters clear.
Sorry, I didn't want to talk over Leonard. So, as you can hear, it's a very cool touch as Leonard Nimoy reads out the quotes that they put with every tech, which they've done in every game. And there's always someone like this. So someone different reads it for Civ 5 and Civ 6 and so on. So you can see I finished agriculture, so I now need to pick a new tech. Again, I would probably think about it. Bronzeworking, one of the downsides of Civ 4 is that bronzeworking is just such a strong tech that everyone almost beelines for it and does it first. For two reasons. One, because it allows you to chop down forest, and chopping down forest gives you production. So my numbers will be off because I normally play on marathon, but it gives you a certain amount of production based on what speed you're on. So I think normally when I play it's 60 and then 90 when you've researched maths. I'm not sure what it is on quick. So you just notice I've scouted into this line here. I'm assuming it's going to attack me next turn, because they normally do. In the bottom left again you can see it says lion. It's got 2 strength, that's what their little arm is, and 1 movement. Whereas my scout here has 1 strength, 2 movement. But my scout also has a bonus where it has 100% versus animals. So that will double my 1. So it's actually going to be a 2v2 strength. So I may lose this fight, we'll see. And then I'll talk a little bit how it works too. Okay, so I did win and I took no damage, so I actually just made a mockery of that. But there are on some levels, and I don't think so on Emperor, but there are some difficulties where you actually are guaranteed to win your first fight. So I'm just going to move and then I'll talk about how the way fighting works, and I've met someone excellent. So here we go, we've met Gilgamesh. You can see on here it says he's creative protective, so he has his own 2 traits. There's also that little spy that shows you, it also shows you the policies that he's using at the moment, which we won't get to, but I will just show you that that's where you can look. I'm not going to pick war, I'm going to say there would be peace. We could discuss stuff, but there's nothing really to discuss at the moment. So in Civ, the way that combat works is that it's based on dice rolls. So you can see here, this is our fight. The lion and my scout, because of the difficulty, I get a very small bonus against the... I'm not sure if it's the AI or animals, but... Oh, it's animal, because it says plus 10%. There you go. So I was so the lion, because it attacked me, had a 34% chance to win. So I got extremely lucky in that all of my rolls hit. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the lion didn't hit me once, which is why I have full health. Up here, again, I'll just quickly go through this because we're not going to get time to finish. I might just wait for the worker to finish and I'll show you how to improve this tile, and then we'll call the video here because it's already almost 20 minutes. So at the top, you've got different things. One is your military advisor. Will show you how much experience you have towards a great general, which is something they added in Warlords. The second DLC, there are actually 2 DLCs for this game. We've looked at the science tab, we've looked at the religion tab. Something that's really interesting is once you get into the late game, there's something called corporations. These are our victory conditions, and they'll show you how far or how close people are to achieving them. So you can see we've got 321 turns left. These are the other ones we talked about a little bit. When you get to opening the UN Council or whatever it's called in this game, that would show up there. This is called espionage. So now that I've met Gilgamesh, I'm going to start putting points into my espionage against him. So I get 4 per turn. At the moment, there are other buildings which will increase this. And then this will tell you if I get 30, I can see his demographics. If I get to 76, I can see his research, and once I discover some of his cities, that will change. The options here will be more. So demographics just basically means that there's a tab that will allow me to see anything I want in terms of that person. So demographics here, this is the world, but I can't tell who's who. So you can see, for example, how many soldiers someone has. So I'm down the bottom here. I'm pretty sure this would be me. This is mine, 4,000. Right, so it just shows you relative power. And this graph, once I've discovered enough espionage points, will actually show me Gilgamesh's line too, and everyone that I've discovered. So it's really important that you do that, because you can check their score, you can check their gold per turn, their production, you can check their power. So you know if someone's building up, they might be coming to attack you, so you can check this, and it's really important that you do that, and it shows all of those things. And in those kind of multiplayer games that I was talking about, people would actually look and examine these graphs turn by turn. So, oh, this person just built, you know, a warrior because they know that their power went up by this amount. This person just built an archer because their power went up by this amount. So you can actually get incredibly in depth with this game if you wanted to. This screen which I just put up is where you do tech trading. So at the moment we can't tech trade, but later on in the game you can. It shows what resources they can, so you can trade for resources. This is a very in-depth game, and I'm not doing it a great service, but I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm just rushing through this because I do just want to show you an end game screen too. So my work is finished. I get to pick what I would like to do here. Again, I'm not going to put too much thought into it, but it would probably normally be a warrior because I need some protection. Scouts, he won't be able to attack into my city, but if this was a warrior, he could just go straight into my city at the moment because it's undefended. Workers do not defend. So these blue circles are just showing me what tiles I can improve at the moment. So I could go down here and make a farm. I could go here and make a mine. I'm going to go down here because the biggest strategy about Civ 4 is that, and most of the Civ games, to be fair, is that you want to grow faster because more population means more tiles that you can work. More tiles that you work means more production, more commerce. So more commerce means more faster research. Faster research means you get ahead of everyone, and that's basically how you win the game, by teching faster. Whether that's by conquering other people, building the space race, whatever it might be, you want to be more advanced than the other civilizations. So just to finish, I'm going to just show you a game that I played a while ago now, but I just saved it again so it'll be at the top of the list. So this game I played a few years ago. I didn't finish it because I was so far ahead that I was kind of like, what's the point? But you'll just see the difference, and I'll show you the late game and just see how the tech has advanced, and we're no longer in the ancient era. There's now tanks and planes and things like that. So one thing I will say about this game, you might look at it and go, oh, those graphics. And yes, I agree with you, but the strategy about this game is so diverse and so in-depth that I can still play this game now, so many years later, 18 years later. It's almost 20 years since it got released. And it's still enjoyable because there's no two games are the same. So you can see here I'm playing as, in this one, I'm playing as Greece. I'm playing as Pericles, who's philosophical and creative. And this is endgame. So you can see my map here. I've discovered the whole world. This blue here is all me. So you can see I've got lots of cities. So some of them are building different things. Up here you can see my tech is all the way up to superconductors. If I slide all the way to the end of this. So this is why Civ is such an in-depth game. Look at all these techs you have to research. Right, I'm going to scroll. I'm up to superconductors, and there's still a few after that too. So I'm all the way at the end of the tech tree. Not quite finished, but as I said, I stopped the game. If I go to my victory conditions, or this is the United Nations at the moment, so you can see we've started that. If I go to victory conditions, we've got scores. Not actually heading score at the moment, which is surprising. Rivals to eliminate, how much of the world population. So you can see this is getting close to the end, but I was just attacking everyone and conquering, so I stopped playing this game. But you can see here's my capital. I'm building a tank. I can see I actually still have a warrior from the very first in my capital, which is funny. I've got different resources now because I've researched them. You've got uranium here on the screen. There's iron there, which I've made a mine over. You can see there's ocean resources too. I've got ships. They've got a destroyer here, or a couple of destroyers. I've got a battleship here. There's a tank. So, while it's there's some oil. While the graphics may look a little bit basic to a lot of people who are used to 4K games these days, it's still, I feel, a fantastic game, and one that I can still play. It's great, and it really, as I said, got me into gaming in a way that before I was kind of just playing without too much thought, but this type of game got me really into it. You can see like a finished city. I'm working all these tiles. I've got these specialists down here, which we didn't really talk about either, but they make great person points, and then you get once this hits the cap, you get a great person, and they give you other bonuses too. You can settle them, you can do that. So at the top here you can see all the religions, you can see the corporations that you could possibly do. You can see, because I'm playing on Marathon, this is turn 863. So yeah, it's a lot. And again, I apologize that I haven't really given this game great service or in depth, but it's 26 minutes and I'm very aware of the time because people will be turning off. You can also upgrade units. But yeah, highly recommend. Not necessarily everyone's type of game, particularly people who might be watching, but this was one of the first games that I ever played, and it was also the game that got me into strategy games and really in-depth thought about the way that you would play. So I hope you enjoyed the look at it and just kind of understand a little bit more about what type of games I like. Next video we're going to look at Civ 5, and then the next one we'll look at Civ 6, and then I'll have a think about what we'll do for that for the rest of the holidays. But hopefully you enjoyed. Good to see you back, and I'll see you in the next video.